So, when did you write your book, A World Without Men?
That was last year. It was last year. That came out last year.
And you talked about in that book how the economy could not function without men.
It could not. I mean, you'd have an economy, but it would be the equivalent of Kenya based off of my estimates.
Okay, could you go through the numbers a little bit?
Well,
everyone says your number. I quote you so much, and I know they're. It makes me so mad because I'm doing these debates, and I'll quote you, and they'll be like that book but they'll discount it even if it's right. It's so annoying.
Did they read it? Did they have other data? In both of the books that I've done most recently, I say if you have new data, send it to me. And it's just, you could go, well, those aren't the real numbers. Then you say, okay, you're a poopy face. I mean, that's the level. You can't either counter it with data or not. And I'm good, not to brag. I'm good because I'm intellectually honest. I don't go out. Here's how most people figure out their economics, okay? They have their politics first, like they do a religion, and then they go and try and find the data to prove their politics. I did it the reverse, and that should scare the piss out of anyone that criticizes me. I go and get the data first, and then I form my opinion. And you would think people, especially economists, politicians, all that, would be that empirical. They're not. And so I don't view that. I got this here in case I was asked about numbers. These books aren't my opinion. That's numbers, and this is the same thing happening in the the housing bubble. I'm like, there's an oversupply of housing. The interest rates are artificially low. This person can't afford it. You don't know what you're talking about. Bam. Well, okay, prove me wrong. And so when someone dismisses that out of hand, it's infuriating. But you gotta control. You don't get angry, and then you go to their level. Where it's like, oh yeah, well you smell like a fart. I mean, if we're going to do this childish level of, I know you are, but what am I? Right. That kind of thing, I don't have time for that. But, I keep getting proven right over time. And I've kind of learned to let reality and the real world prove me right and them wrong, because it's pointless to waste your time arguing.
Because even on my Michael Knowles interview, did you see the part he talked about?
Is that the one where he didn't read the book and said there was like 5 mistakes in the first?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. He's lying. There's not 5 grammatical errors in the first page. He obviously didn't read it. Because I'm empirical first.
I'm like, was there? I didn't see him, but I don't know.
No, you could say, well, I'd write it differently, but I go through my own stuff. You said you enjoy reading because it's very well written and easy to understand. And it's like a vodka purifying, or what do they call it? You filter. You filter vodka 3 times. I have 3 different editors that go over it to look for things like that. Are there typos in my books? Yes. There's not 5 on the first page. Tell me you didn't read the book without telling me you didn't read the book. So I can dismiss that guy outright.
Well, yeah, but it's so weird when I try to tell them about the number of marriageable women. It's like, it's so weird how they won't believe me. And I'm like, I've interviewed 1,000. Because at first I didn't really come in with the opinion of that, but then I interviewed 1,000 women and I was like, oh God.
But in criticism of you, there is a selection bias. So you're going on shows, so it skews, a certain way. And these guys, whether
if I look from my hometown, that's Christian conservative, still half divorced.
Right. No, and that's where
I'm from a pretty rural part of Chicago, a very Catholic, they call it MAGA County.
Yeah.
What do you guys want?
Well, but they also have a selection bias, because in their defense, like Matt Walsh, not Dennis Prager, Kevin. I think Dave Ramsey, these guys who are pro-marriage and, you just got to go up there and be swell, son. I mean, they actually have good marriages. They have good wives. So I think they also have a selection bias. You know where I get my information about divorce? Center for Disease Control, among other places. Now, someone wants to question that. I'd like to see a more authoritative source than the Center for Disease. That's the official government, but, if you want to disagree, fine, go ahead. But I'm still waiting for other data, which I still have the model I used. Ready to just plop numbers in as I get better data, and I can update the data. But yeah, this is it. it's tiring. This is what I dealt with in academia. This is what I dealt with in banking, where I don't like your figures. Well, F off then. I don't care.
They come from their ideology first.
You come from their idea.
You come from the numbers first.
Right. Or they just come from their personal experiences, which until relatively recent, we didn't have. Like, all you had was your eyes and ears and your personal experiences. Like, look out for girls with tattoos, son. You know, it's like, oh, okay, because there was a correlation back in the day. If these guys have happy marriages, great, awesome. That's wonderful. You are not the remaining 168,999,999 American men in the world.
Well, what happened was I interviewed Paul Elam the other day.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Paul. I know Paul.
And he brought a friend of his, and he was from Michael Knowles' church community. And he's like, I don't know what he's talking about. Because he spent $300,000 trying to get his kid, and now his kid's in Russia and speaks another language.
The friend,
he
spent $300,000.
Yeah. He's from like Michael Knowles' like Latin church community.
Okay.
No, but it just confuses me because I think like I'm like, there's no way you don't know somebody that's gone through it. I just don't believe it.
No, and here's one thing that really helped me be a quote better economist than the average economist. Is I'm all about data and research and removing your emotions and your political biases and just what does the data tell you? And you'll be amazed what it will tell you. Oh, shoot, I forgot where I was going with that. What would you ask before?
That Michael Knowles, I said that he spent $300,000 trying to get his kid. It confuses me because they have to know somebody that got divorced.
Right. And that's where I was going. Data will carry you very far, but in today's world where everyone has a bias or an agenda or political motivation, even the data and the research can get corrupted. Or when people get you statistics, they're biased. Oh, we got a study. Study suggests. Who did it? Who did the study? You know, this is why I look at databases.
How do you?
But that's what I was going to say is sometimes you have to use your eyes and ears and say, okay, what if I am not biased? What if what I'm seeing in the real world is actually representative of the real world, not just bad luck? For example, I've been shot down to a majority of dates that I've been asked out, or I've asked a girl out on. If I was more worried about data, I'd be like, God, girls just don't like me. It's like, well, wait, what if there's a chance that, I look around then, all my friends are getting shot down. All the older guys I know are getting divorced. Soon, you have to start trusting your own eyes, especially in absence of real data and where it's just questionable data as well. And so it's kind of a little bit of both. You definitely don't want to be biased, but sometimes, especially how academia and polling and everyone's got an agenda has been so corrupted, soon you got to look out there. Like, big is beautiful. No, it isn't. No, I see it with my eye. No, it's not beautiful. So sometimes you have to just, have a gut check and trust your own vision.
So they often quote the stat that like if they pray every day, there's only a 5% divorce rate. Have you seen that one?
No.
Okay, I was curious what your thoughts were on it.
I'd want to know the methodology. Like in all fairness, I had to come up with some really hard statistics to come by.
Yeah.
Like tattoos and bodily mutilation. That's probably the most dubious or the weakest bit of data that I have in there. But they actually have polling data on, how many tattoos does the average girl have.
You know what's crazy? I asked my youngest sister, because you said you had some stat about women younger, like Gen Z, having tattoos.
Yeah.
And my youngest sister is 10 years younger than me, and then the next is 8. And so I was asking them, like, how many of your friends have tattoos? And this is conservative, Catholic school. This is upper class. She said majority.
A majority, yep.
Yeah, she said more than 50%.
Right, and it's good to collect the empirical data, but the 5% divorce that prays, okay, I could see if you're praying every day, you probably follow the Bible pretty precisely, and whether your marriage is happy or not. And keep in mind, the book of Numbers, isn't about whether your marriage stays together. It's whether you are happily married, which is another measuring issue right there. So that's fine, 5%, the divorce rate. How many people aren't Christian? How many people don't pray every day? It's like great. People who play guitar left-handed, whose names are Bob and they have blue underwear on, those guys have no divorces. Well, okay, what about literally everybody else?
Yeah.
And so that's nice. But if people aren't Christian or they're secular or they don't pray whatever the obtuse kind of statistic is, fine. And then, yeah, I would naturally call into question the methodology that they used on that. And then I'd want to interview everyone and say, okay, when you can interview them, but I want to look and say, are you overweight? All right. Oh, really? Is that a happy marriage over there? Show me your wedding picture. Now let me look at you now. Don't tell me you guys are happy, so.
How can you tell a bad methodology from a good method? Because it's so confusing for like the average person, where it's like, okay, you have this study and this, and then
the main way to tell if it's a good methodology, if there's intellectual honesty and integrity in it. Where that research paper where me and a bunch of other guys made it on the list. The peril,
hate.
Yeah, diverting hate and Middlebury University and ASU. You want to see absolute. I'm not saying because I disagree with them. I'm saying they should be fucking embarrassed that they published that. That methodology was horrible. The Peril Institute, the ones where they came up with the male supremacy scale.
Oh, yeah, I think I out supremacied you.
Did you?
Yeah, I think I scores.
But did you read through his methodology?
Not at all.
There was no intellect. No, it was just you could already tell it was wrong because wait, there are channels that are bigger than me. You didn't do any research at all. But the main thing is, and you could read through people's methodology in the research publications that they publish and say, okay, what did they do? And you'll be able to tell quickly, we have a theory. The theory is this affects that. And if that stands up to reason, okay, philosophically or logically, that makes sense. And we measured this and that using these techniques. And then you're going to be like, wait, how does that measure? We're using these measuring techniques to get to A. I'm like, how does that measure A?
Can I have an example of one that would be bad?
The same guy who did the Peril research at the Diverting Hate. He took the top 5 most popular videos. I'm just wondering if there'd be an easier one that would the audience could understand.
You can make it up,
no, because I want to be on that male supremacy list. He had a list of 15 things, and
isn't one calling men simps or something?
Yeah, calling men simps.
I think that's it. Got me so high,
right? And then calling men simps. Well, simps exist. That doesn't mean I hate women and believe in male supremacy. Another one was, I think he used the word woman. It's like, that's just a funny way to say what? No, it's just, So if you go through his list of 15 things, at least 2/3 of them does not measure A, does not mean you're a male supremacist. That does not. It might correlate, but that does not mean you're a male supremacist. And so you'll see that rife in academia. Another one is the N number, the number of people they surveyed or the number of test subjects. Like maybe a couple hundred and you might get it. But all of a sudden you'll see sample sizes of 5. It's like, who the hell did you interview? Like, when you only find 5 people?
Right.
So that is another way to look at bad methodology.
So what's a good number that you would say a study is critical?
It depends on what you're trying to measure. 50.
Oh, 50?
I guess I'm
surprised that low.
Well, a lot of the things you're trying to measure, there's not enough real world instances of things you're trying to measure. Like, let's say you're trying to study a very rare disease. Okay, well, good luck finding, people that have that disease. It really depends on what you're trying to measure. But I mean, really rule of thumb 50. Okay. It would be a starting point. You'd like a couple hundred, a couple thousand maybe.
So a world without men. I often hear women say that they don't need a man.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true or untrue?
It is provably not true. You don't need men, sure, but you're gonna have like a GDP per capita on par with Kenya. You're going to be living in literally a 70 square foot closet. You will not have electricity. You will barely have electricity. You will not have cars. You won't have road. You'll have very little of this spread across an entire female. Women are helplessly, and I mean that in the literal sense, though, they are helplessly dependent upon men. Absolutely.
So why do you think women believe this?
Because they want to. It feels good. I think a lot of it, how much of it is nurture versus nature. I think the past 3 generations, maybe 4 if you want to throw in the boomers, there's been some cultural push and I'd even call it indoctrination, where it's almost its own ideology or religion. Like the Church of Girl, like, oh, I'm so great because I'm a girl. It's like, no, that's just a trait you were born with. You're half the population. You're not special. But it's a simple tribalism where, why is a Green Bay Packer fan, because Milwaukee, Chicago, why would I cheer for the Green Bay Packers over those stupid Chicago Bulls?
You're born there?
You're born there. You
guys got the cheese heads.
Yeah, we got the chip.
Yeah.
So what? You got a piece of styrofoam on your head. Yeah. It doesn't mean you yourself or anything. So I think it's human nature to rally around a flag and rally around a tribe. And I think the concept of feminism, which, fine, yes, equal rights, voting rights, right to property, all that. Sure, everyone was on board with that. But more modernly, especially since I was a kid and later, younger generations, it's become its own cult. It's become its own religion. It's become its own value system where, vagina, that's all I need. Mm-hmm. Not whether I'm a doctor or a pilot or a good mom or whatever else. I just have a vagina. It's great.